that have been put forward by the party, 3 women councillors from the city, and in particular the issues around the deselection of Anna Rothery, who was shaping up to be certainly the most popular left candidate, very strong candidate, and has been deselected without any real explanation as to why that's happened. And the party is keeping quiet, but saying that it's restarted the process and none of the previous candidates will be invited to reapply. That's causing a considerable amount of outrage around the country and certainly in the city. And I'm joined tonight by Andrea Gilbert, who is a founder member of Labour Black Socialists, the group which has gone on selective campaigning strike with the party because they're not convinced by the party's commitment to anti-black racism. We have Chantal Lunt, who is from the Liverpool Black Lives Matter movement, but also a new member of the party, as I understand it. We have Dan Lewis, who's a close friend of Anna Rothery and a recent member of her campaign team. We have Mogamat, who's also from Labour Black Socialists, and we have well-known Liverpool anti-racism campaigner Alan Gibbons, who until recently was suspended by the party and then reinstated with the party again, covering itself in a considerable amount of shame and disgrace. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody, at short notice for this special programme, and thank you everybody who's watching. Chantal, you're in the city, and obviously these events will be of direct relevance to you. Tell us a little bit about how you found out about it and what it made you think.
So I got a kind of a notification while I was in a lecture earlier, and just shock, because as you've said, Anna was looking to be the strongest candidate. She had backing from Corbyn, from Dawn Butler. She was kind of, socialist values. She was all about kind of grassroots movement. So we were really I personally was strongly supporting Anna. We were kind of platforming her from a BLM perspective, because it's what we, as not only the black community, but as workers, as a city, what we seem to need. So we were just like 100% in and behind Anna. And it did seem like she was doing really well. And just at this point, so late on, for them to seemingly pull the rug from under her with no explanation, it just makes you ask so many questions. What has caused this? Is it worry about who was leading the campaign? Is it worry about who seemed to be the one who was likely to win? What was the reason for it? And so there's a lot of anger, and I think rightly so. There's a lot of questions about why this decision. It was an all female kind of, it was going to be a woman. It was possibly going to be a black woman. And why does that seem to suddenly be a problem? And why were they not appropriate candidates? We could have potentially had the first black female mayor in the entire UK, and now that's not even a possibility. So anger, and I think rightly so, to feel angry.
Yes, certainly triggered a lot of outrage around the city. Dan, you're like me, man, it sounds like it, but you are a local, not quite within the city boundaries, but in Merseyside certainly, and were until recently working on Anna's campaign team. So what did you hear about all this, and what do you know of how Anna, well, as I understand it, Anna was informed when members got an email and she heard about it from that. So, I mean, that in itself is a scandal that the candidates weren't told, but tell us a little bit of what you can about how that all unfolded.
Let's put it this way. I don't believe that there was a massive delay between the email that went to all the candidates and the email that went to 7,000 members in Liverpool. And the way I suppose I'm not shocked, really. I'm just not shocked, because whenever a black or brown person stands for any position, there's always something in the way, someone trying to jump on them. And it doesn't matter what area of politics you're in. Obviously, on the left, you expect it less. But right now, it feels difficult. There were difficulties in other recent elections about getting BAME people to be able to represent, have a position to represent people within the Labour Party. And when Anna went for this, it was a case of, do you know what? A lot of people felt a lot of hope. And that hope was similar to how we felt in 2019. It was about a vision. It was about socialist values, socialist ideas, and socialist policies. And it was looking like that hope was about to turn into something amazing. And that's the part that hurts, is when you lose the hope. But expecting this to happen, just the whole way it's happened, and the fact that there's been no actual explanation as to what the details are and why this has happened, especially the fact, this is it's three women standing for election in one of the biggest Labour cities in the country, and it doesn't look good, does it? It just doesn't look good. I'm a bit embarrassed, to be honest.
Well, I've seen a number of people saying today that they've held in there regardless of the things that have been happening over the past year or so, but that for the first time they genuinely feel ashamed to be saying that they're members of the Labour Party. Andrea and Morgamat, you Labour Black Socialists made a statement in very short order after this decision was announced, of solidarity with Anna Rothery, but also calling on the Equality and Human Rights Commission to mount an investigation into the party for institutional racism that you perceived in this decision. Tell us a little bit about how you saw that and what impact the news had on you.
My sister can speak first.
Yeah, we basically feel that it should be investigated by the EHRC, because this isn't the first instance that this has happened. A lot of Black members and Asian members also have said that they have been blocked from elections in the past, and it has impacted them moving forward within the party and within the party structures also.
This is just procedurally, this is a matter of concern, because someone drove a tractor through the rule book. It's a substantive disaster that someone with this level of experience, with this quality of candidate, it is just an absolute disaster, because it precludes everything in terms of Chapter 5 of the rule book. This is not something about mates getting together in the pub to organize a Monopoly game. This is the rule book of a party that is a government in waiting. They went through this rule book with a tractor like Boris Johnson said, Brexit, we'll get it done. This is what they want to do. This is their version 2.0. And from a moral point of view, this is an absolute catastrophe. How does one, as my sister there indicated, in a city by the 1790s was the biggest port in this country for slavery. And the first place in the Labour Party where a female of such high quality was going to be, as my brother says, a sign of hope. And the Labour Party just pulled the rug. And our sister said that she is considering a High Court injunction because every aspect of the rule book has been foreclosed in this issue. These people took this rule book, and in public, this is what they are doing. They are doing it like this. This is the Labour Party rule book, and this is what we are doing. And they're telling us this is on live TV. And my mother would be terribly disturbed if I were to continue. So I have to stop, my brother.
Yeah, well said. Alan, you're in the neighbourhood as well, and well known for your anti-racism campaigning. And you were backing Anna to be the party's candidate in this contest. Tell me a little bit about what you're hearing from your neck of the woods.
Well, I've been getting phone calls from members all afternoon, and the irony of this, when I was suspended, it was on a Tuesday when I was coming home from the food bank, and yet again on a Tuesday, I've been hit by a baseball bat on a Tuesday coming home from the food bank. And let's just spell out why this matters first, and I want to say a thing about generally the three candidates. When it comes to Anna, Anna's a friend of mine. We have been on the Grenfell Vigil, the only city in the UK outside London that carried out a vigil every month on the 14th of the month, and Dan was there as well, on the steps of the bombed out church in Liverpool in solidarity with predominantly BAME people who are victims of that disaster, was Liverpool. Ever since 2017, every single month we've done this, and Anna initiated it. Anna was there with the megaphone all the way through until she became Lord Mayor, where you're not supposed to conduct political fashion. We've got the first black Lord Mayor in Britain, and it's so important in Liverpool. Besides what Mogamat said, this is a city where in 1919 there were race riots, where a young black man was pursued through the streets, bricked and drowned, Charles Wotton. This is a city that has got racism built into its bricks. And as we try to liberate ourselves from that baleful tradition, you go on to Lawrence Westgaff's walks through Liverpool and you see the impact of slavery everywhere. And as we try to liberate ourselves from that, we have a black woman, a proud black woman, who has been a councillor for 15 years, removed. I mean, just unbelievable. And without any compelling evidence, we as Labour Party members don't know why. Now, if we go on to all three women, we have three women who've got between them over half a century of experience in the council chamber. Two have been deputy mayor and one has been Lord Mayor. And if there isn't compelling evidence to put before our members, how do I explain them to it? So on the grounds of all women shortlists, on the grounds of black power, electoral power and power to fight structural racism, and on the grounds of the rule book and the access to transparency and information for our members in the greatest socialist city in Britain, on all those grounds, I am absolutely gobsmacked that the Labour Party can do this. Candidates are in my constituency. And on Thursday, we're on TLP. And we'll want to know some answers. Really, really want to know some answers.
And I think, the lack of answers and lack of transparency in the process is one of the most shocking things. I mean, in case anybody's watching who isn't aware of the background to this, 3 women councillors were shortlisted. The votes were due to go out to the members last Thursday, if I recall correctly, Wednesday or Thursday. And then all of a sudden they didn't arrive. And then, the party didn't explain why they hadn't arrived. And suddenly it leaked out through relatively right-wing media, of all places, that the party was calling everybody back for a re-interview process. So Labour didn't tell the members anything really, except there was going to be a delay. And they promised to have the ballots out to people by yesterday. That also didn't happen. Still didn't hear anything. And then while the candidates are waiting to find out what's going on, the members got an email telling them that none of those candidates were going to be allowed to stand, and the process would start again so that some new candidates could be selected, or new prospective candidates could be selected, a new shortlist. No information whether it's going to be an all-women shortlist, as it was in the first place. No information as to the reason for the problems. And there were, over the past couple of weeks, questions that came up over, the history of one of the candidates, which may turn out to be nothing, but the questions were there. However, the party decided to re-interview all 3 candidates, and members in the area started to get worried at that point that this was going to be just an excuse to stitch out the left candidate, because I think, Anna shocked everyone with how much popularity she generated in such a short space of time. And obviously it's a potentially very historic moment to have the first black woman mayor in the UK. So, everything throughout that process seems to be been as far from transparent as you can possibly get, but also with no accountability, because nobody's holding their hands up and saying, you know, I took this decision. I know who was on the panel that made it, but you know, the party hasn't told members who's done that, etc. And given the history of the city, especially the recent history in the mayoral situation, transparency and accountability would seem to be the absolute musts in this context. So, you know, Dan, you've been local a good while. Tell us a little bit about transparency and accountability in Liverpool, if you can.
Transparency and accountability. I think on this situation, you know, like it's amazing, because before 2015, everything seemed to be siphoned off to all these different places, whether it be Southside or allegedly someone in the regional office, which a lot of the time wasn't true, because they don't actually it goes to departments within Southside or whatever, or the NEC representatives, and decisions are made outside of Liverpool, is my point there. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Liverpool, Leeds, Luton, wherever it might be, all the L's there. You know, the decisions need to be made with the local people. That was one of the things that Keir actually stood on, talking about decisions being made by the members within the towns and cities where they need to be made, listening to the people who are actually going to be voting. And since 2015, we started to see a turnaround. And, you know, things weren't great. Things had to be improved. Things had to be worked on. But you started to see more votes happening back, or more decisions being made back in the hands of the people. But when it comes to this, the decision hasn't really been left to the people of Merseyside or the people of Liverpool at all. From the first panel, there was a very short amount of time for people to be able to put their applications in. Obviously, whoever got their applications in did. No one knew who was on the panel, who was from the NEC or who was from the regional board. As far as I'm aware, the trade unions weren't involved in that panel. Like, how can you make a decision in Liverpool without speaking to the trade unions? If there's one thing I've learned in this city, is that the trade unions are us and we are the trade unions. Do you know what I mean? That's the Labour Party. So they weren't involved in that. And then the decision was made. We had 3 candidates. Brilliant. My friend Anna's on the panel, having been selected. And, you know, we get behind the candidates that we want to support and we go through it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this comes up. And it's a perfect example of the direction the party's been going in recently. Alan mentioned before his suspension from the party. I don't know, Alan, if you got an actual reason behind it. But I remember last summer, when I was the secretary of Bootle CLP, there was some suspensions there. I didn't know anything about them. The members didn't really have a lot of information about them. And it's a reoccurring issue of lack of transparency that seems to be increasing when really and truly it was starting to disappear. We were getting that transparency since 2015, but since last year it's gone the other way. And personally, as a socialist within the Labour Party, I feel like there's a bit of a fight being picked here amongst us. Well, not a bit, quite a big one. And you know, I'm ready. And I know all the brothers and sisters that stand on them socialist values, they're ready too, not just in Liverpool, in everywhere, all across the country. Because look at the support that the socialist candidate has gotten, right? Anna has not just galvanized that hope that I spoke about earlier. She's reached out across the UK because people believe that socialism can and will win. So we'll keep at it.
Chantal, you're a newish member of the party, and you know, Keir Starmer's been promising to make the party a welcoming environment for all people. Do you feel welcome in the party with the way that Anna's being treated at the moment?
Not at all, not at all. I have kind of bounced in and out of the party, just kind of, you know, it's that debate of, do I fight for the party that I love, the party that I fell in complete love it with again under Jeremy Corbyn, or do we just cut my losses because Starmer seems to be waving the flag for nationalism? He seems to be, you know, snubbing BLM at every opportunity, whether it be statue debate, whether it be calling it a moment, whether it be kind of casting doubt on Chisgate and not actually voting. You know, there's so many things that Starmer has done to tell us that he is not about socialism, he is not about civil rights. He does it every day. And so, but the way I think, he's the leader, he's not the entire party. And so local politics for me has just been something that has given me hope. So I still felt quite proud to be a Scouser who comes from, you know, a red wall city, and someone whose politicians kind of represent my values. When you think of Anna, that hope that Dan is talking about, that's the kind of hope that Corbyn gave me. The hope that wasn't just, you know, I'll take Labour because that's what I've always done, but I'll take Labour because this is someone who sees me. This is someone who sees what it's like to be black, to be working class, to be Scouts, to care about the people in the community. Someone who's not about their career, but actually in politics for the right reason, because they see you and they want to help you. They want to make our community better. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Nationally, I've not got much time for Labour, but at a local level, I really did. And so today, and I know a lot of people will be feeling like this, like I'm genuinely upset. I'm like, because it feels like an attack on Liverpool, because we're known for what we're about. We're known for being socialist. We're known for having strong values. So how dare you come into this city and take three candidates that we all loved? You know, we've talked about Liverpool's history of slavery. We've talked about that legacy. And yet people were saying, you know, we're ready for a change. Anna was so popular. Anna was the most popular candidate. And yet Labour sees that, Keir sees that, whoever saw that at the top, and they're like, well, no, that's not what we want for Liverpool. But you don't get to tell us what happens in Liverpool, and you will see what Liverpool is about if you want to continue this. As Dana said, we have connected in ways that we never would have during this lockdown. So as a movement, we are a national black movement, and there are a lot of people watching and listening very closely to kind of see how we want to respond to this. And so we're putting out a statement tomorrow, and we are just 100% behind Anna, and anything she wants, she's got it.
Andrea?
Yeah, you know, I'm just absolutely confused as to what's happened, to be honest. You know, just earlier this morning, I was sharing Anna's stuff. I've been sharing her stuff all over Labour Black Socialists. And, you know, we were getting good responses. We were getting follows from people as well who were, you know, pretty much watching what we were doing. And to see that she's been suspended, to see there's been no explanation, like nobody knows what's going on. You know, she found out by from what I've been told with everybody else. So from the media side of things as well, which just isn't nice. That's just not the right way to go about things. And I think, you know, where there's no clarity and stuff, this is what's brought out even more outrage. To be honest, I feel like, you know, that currently we're not really working as an anti-racist party. I feel that, you know, if we continue like this, we're going to continue seeing higher numbers of black members leaving the party and, you know, just becoming demoralized and demotivated to actually campaign, because currently now it's just not feeling like we're welcome in the party at the moment. And, you know, this is going to have negative impacts on Anna as well. We feel that she should actually be reinstated, to be honest, because she's done nothing wrong. She wasn't actually the candidate that got investigated. So I don't actually understand why she's actually not running anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's come out of nowhere. And, you know, it's the false sense of security as well. We was just thinking that, you know, the ballots just weren't coming that day and they were delayed and coming another day, and that she would still be running. Everybody carried on with the campaigning. Do you know what? I was even going to go and phone bank for her as well. Like I had got a link to one of her, to her email address to, you know, get in contact with her to do some phone banking. So I was pretty much looking forward to that. So I do like campaigning side of being in the party. That's why I originally joined, to be honest. But yeah, obviously with this coming out now, none of that's going to be happening. And the poor woman doesn't actually understand what's gone on here. So like, until we actually know what's gone on, like, you know, people are going to continue being outraged and become demoralized and demotivated to campaign for the party. And I've seen that Anna is also considering doing legal action. Well, she's going to have so much support. She was actually literally the most popular candidate. There was nothing, I didn't see anything of the other candidates. It was literally just her all over my social media, to be honest. She was having such a positive campaign as well. All of the endorsements, Liverpool were behind her as well. And yeah, I'm just absolutely dismayed, shocked, and yeah, I just think it's disgraceful and a disgraceful way to end an election for people as well. And you know, just solidarity with Anna, to be honest, because I just feel so much empathy towards her and how she's feeling currently. Do you know what I mean? Just not knowing why this has happened to her. So yeah, I just hope that she's able to get reinstated and continue with her campaign, to be honest. That's what I would want to see anyway.
Welcome back. You heard Chantal say that she sees this as being a continuation of Keir Starmer's very equivocal and often insulting approach to the Black Lives Matter movement. Is that something you would echo?
Of course I would. It's not even hard to echo that, because the one thing that one can count on, anything that is informed by fundamental, non-negotiable Labour Party and trade union values, Keir Starmer is ambivalent. But when it comes to anything that comes to attacking people who potentially can serve the least in society, he's quite determined. You see the shoddy way in which a blessing of a candidate is just steamrolled out of the front door. And when he has to take a stand on Matt Hancock that the court has ruled he acted illegally, then Keir Starmer says, calling for the removal of a person from office is a precarious issue of judgment. He does not judge Anna Rothery. He just kicks her out.
Mm-hmm.
But he might just have messed with the wrong people, because that is Liverpool. And again, I know there is a sharp divide between Liverpool supporters and Everton supporters. Let's keep the T-shirts on. But when we go to You'll Never Walk Alone and the lyrical impulse that informs the culture, yes, there is pain of racism and slavery, everyday insults, but there is in You'll Never Walk Alone a lyrical response to these catastrophes. And he has touched a nerve that she is not walking alone. She actually has many people in Liverpool who are not even Labour supporters. They say this is a shocking state of affairs. They actually voted for her in the council. Everyone voted for her to be Lord Mayor. But people will say Anna Rothery is of the best of us, even if she is. Some will say, well, she can't be completely perfect because she is a member of the Labour Party. But they will say, you don't mess with her this way. And if You'll Never Walk Alone becomes the music in the hearts of the Labour Party members and the ordinary public that she has served for 15 years, without fear or favor, if that becomes the music in their hearts, this regional executive that has walked through and torn up the rule book is in deep trouble, because this is not a political issue. This is the culture of Liverpool. And the people involved in terms of employment, these are dismissible offenses because the party is suffering reputational damage. And it is serial poor performance and misconduct in a high profile and public way, breaking the rules of the party. The people concerned, it's not that I am very good, but I would dismiss them, not because I'm so good, but because they're so bad at what they are doing. It is so easy to dismiss them, and they must be dismissed because this is poor governance of a selection process, breaking the rules. It is gross misconduct, and Anna Rothery should be reinstated. The EHRC has to investigate, and if, because the time frame that they've given is so short, no rule in the rule book that is torn up, no rule can actually be followed. So therefore, she has very few options, and she has indicated what her option is. And the people responsible must be tried and disciplined by the Labour Party for causing the party reputational and financial damage. Keir Starmer does not care. Keir Starmer does not care about black people. I'm struggle every day. I hope that he gives me reason to hope that he can kneel on one knee or both knees. He can put his head forward or backwards while he's kneeling. He's just tone deaf. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he can have his deputy next to him. She doesn't help him either. A right of recall is not out of place.
You mentioned You'll Never Walk Alone there. Alan, as a fellow resident of the city of Liverpool, I mean, certainly for me, since I moved here years ago, I've never known a place like it for people understanding intrinsically solidarity, whether or not they would see themselves as Labour Party members. I mean, you've got the football divide, but that gets cast aside as soon as there's a need with the food bank's effort where, you know, if somebody gets injured or killed, then there's instantly, you know, everybody rallies around to help the families and so on. This does feel like an insult to the people of Liverpool, at least to me. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, the most ironic thing in this whole farce is that when we got our letter, it said that we need a candidate who can beat the Tories, win elections. Well, Anne O'Byrne and Anna Rothery are in my constituency, the safest constituency in the United Kingdom, 84.7% Labour at the last election. We know how to win elections. We know how to deliver the vast majority of people. Wendy is in Wavertree, I believe. I think that was 73% Labour. I mean, come on. You cannot say that this is to make us electorally successful. Our last Walton by-election for a council candidate, Tim Jeeves was elected with 86.6%. This is spurious logic. We had hustings with these three women who've got a long record of public service. In those hustings, we believed we were listening to powerful women, articulate, with a track record, and then we are told that they are not good enough. And you keep looking at this lack of logic and lack of transparency in the whole process. If there is a problem, tell us what the problem is. If there is a problem, they haven't been suspended, there hasn't been any action. There is no consistency according to the rule book, as Mogamat has just said. So what we need to see is, number one, we need to know why this has happened. But we've got a truncated process that within a week, we will have candidates that we've had no involvement in selecting. And this is just utterly untenable. I'll tell you about Liverpool, though. You know, when Mogamat was talking about the red and the blue mixes in this city. We've got purple wheelie bins. And when people boycotted the unspeakable SUN over the horror of Hillsborough, I'll tell you what, the Evertonians wouldn't pick up the filthy rag, as well as the Liverpudlians. We understand solidarity. I was part of the crowds where there was 30,000 on a Tuesday morning about 11 o'clock chanting justice for the 96. That's the tenor of this city. We do not want to see any sort of process foisted on us that doesn't give natural justice. Tell these 3 women who have carried through public service for getting on for half a century between them why they cannot stand as candidates. Tell the 6,000 Labour Party members why. We deserve better than the mushroom principle. We really do.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, Alan. I think the key thing, I think there's been an insult to the Labour members and the people generally in Liverpool City. I think there's also been a major insult to the unions, because all 3 candidates were backed by different unions, and they're supposed to be the heart of the movement, as Dan, I think it was mentioned at the beginning of the show. But I think that the thing that's an interesting risk, an interesting danger for me to the Labour Party. I mean, Liverpool is probably the reddest in political terms city certainly in England, is therefore often, I think, taken for granted by the party because they assume that they're just going to win here every time. But only a few years ago, we saw Scotland go from being a country that was very strongly Labour to one where Labour's now in a poor 3rd position. And we've seen the English leadership of the party add insult to injury on top of that by imposing itself on who was going to be the leader of the party in Scotland, and that isn't going to help. Now, I'll caution everybody on this bit of the conversation to take care, because those of us who are Labour members, if you're advocating somebody standing against the party, they'll kick you out of the party before you can blink, probably. So I'm not asking anybody to comment whether they think Anna Rothery should stand as a Labour candidate, but could this be a tipping point? We saw in the London mayoral election with the Frank Dobson moment, let's say, where Ken Livingstone humiliated the Labour Party by winning the mayoral contest, regardless of the efforts of the party to replace it. Could it be a moment where the city of Liverpool, turns against Labour? If Anna Rothery was to stand as an independent candidate, not do you think she should, but do you think she could win?
If I could jump in on that one there, Steve. Like my opinion is that I think it'll be a sad day when Liverpool turns on the Labour Party. I think there's a lot of people, put it this way, the last 10 plus years of my life, you go past my house on Google Street View, there is me standing outside my house with a Labour placard at the bottom of my drive, a Labour sign in my window, and a Labour lanyard round my neck. That's the kind of Labour guy I am. And in Liverpool, many people, Labour is a part of their lives, and it has been for a long time. And I think a lot of the time, the attitude for a lot of people here is that they will stay in and they will fight for what they believe in, because what's ours is ours. And I was very happy when, after a few years of living here, my mother-in-law said to me, Dan, a local saying, Northerners will get it, our kid. And she said, Dan. And Anna, she's ours. It's our Anna. And we'll stick with her. We'll stick with her. And the Labour Party, it's ours. It belongs to the members. It says it on the card. It says it, when you go to the meetings, it's your party. No matter what happens down in Southside in London, Liverpool's still preaching the socialist preach, still preaching to look after thy neighbour, still preaching to make sure that everyone has a fair chance in life. And when it comes to the Labour Party, it's a sad day when we turn around and we say to the Labour Party that we're not going to vote for them anymore. That's a very sad day, especially here in Liverpool. But the situation that we're in right now is that they want to fight. They've picked a fight with three candidates in Liverpool, and I don't need to repeat what's been said so beautifully by the comrades on the panel here. We've seen what's happened, and I think the position for us right now is that history is in the making. History was in the making in Anna's campaign, and the Labour Party have made a decision to change how history could have been made. But now what we're going to have to do is we're going to think about how we approach this situation. And I'm sure it's down to the members, the CLP officers, all to come together and deliver a response to the Labour Party. Whoever's managing this, it's the NEC, the leadership, the General Secretary. They need to think about that message that goes back to them, because it's been mentioned on this call, you'll never walk alone, solidarity, we're standing with the people. And that's what Anna's done. She stood with the people every time. I can't name a protest or any type of solidarity event where Anna hasn't been there. Even the Grenfell, I remember one time, and she'll hate me for saying this, but one time the Grenfell vigil was on the same night that she had to go to an event where I think someone was being given an award, something to do with her role as a councillor. And she turned up, she was running late for the event, but she turned up to the vigil in her dress for the event. And everyone's there in their, I think Alan might have been there. Everyone was in their big jackets and their scarves, and she's there in a dress ready to go to this event for the council, whatever it might be. And she turns up, and that's solidarity. And that's the kind of person Anna is. And at the end of the day, when Anna shows you solidarity, you show it back. When anyone shows you solidarity, you show it back. But when it's Anna, oh, she's going to get that solidarity back, man. And people are going to stand with her. Trust me, they're definitely going to stand with her.
Chantal, you've only just joined the party. So who was that, sorry?
Yeah, I'm just saying, to answer what Dan's saying, give credit to all the candidates, because when the fascists come to Liverpool, Anna was marching alongside us when they tried to come into Moorfields, and I was at Bootle when Tommy Robins came in. Anne O'Byrne was being dragged all around the floor for daring to sit down in civil disobedience against Tommy Robinson's fascists. I mean, we need some respect here, you know. Honest to God, if we're looking for candidates, we want candidates for the Labour Party that oppose fascism and oppose racism. And I want to see, you know, in my life, not just in my lifetime, in the next few years, I want to see a party that starts to look like the rest of my colleagues more than looks like me, that recognises the direction that modern, multi-ethnic, multicultural Britain is moving in. I don't want to see all white CLPs where comrades from black and Asian backgrounds vacate the party because they don't think the struggle for equality is being taken seriously. I really want to see us be a party that looks like Anna Rothery, or looks like Andrea, or looks like Mogamat or Dan. You know, I mean, we are long overdue a woman leader of the Labour Party. We're long overdue a BAME member of the Labour Party. And honest to God, in Anna, you had somebody who exemplified all that and is a damn good socialist. And I can't think of anything that could be said against her. And I find this situation flesh-crawlingly embarrassing as a local Labour Party official.
I think the damn good socialist bit was the problem, really, because, you know, my personal suspicion is that her card got marked at the point when she showed some solidarity with Jeremy Corbyn and stuck her head above the parapet there. You know, I wish I could say I was surprised that the party's behaved in the way that it has. And I'll be honest, I mean, when I first heard the news, my first thought was, that's it, I'm out. They pushed me too far, and I'm not, you know, I'm about as white as they come. I'm not black. And yet, you know, the idea that they would do this to a black woman candidate who's got, you know, everything to offer the city and you know, no reason not to be there standing, was pushing me too far. I mean, Chantal, as I say, don't say anything that's going to get you kicked out when you've just joined, but, you know, is the level of anger enough there that Labour's in danger of a Frank Dobson moment where they might humiliate themselves by cutting out the candidate who would have won it for them? And then, you know, if she was to stand, would there be support for her?
There'll always be support for Anna, no matter what decision she makes, because that's the reason why Anna is where she is now. You know, she's been re-elected 4 times. She's got the trust, the confidence and the love of the people in Merseyside. The issue for me is we feel like this is undemocratic. We've lost our agency. You know, being a black person, being a Scouser, we define who we are and we define how we want to be represented. We elect our politicians. And a lot of us know our politicians. We've got a special relationship with them. They're approachable. And so to feel as if the people who make this party, particularly in this region, particularly in Liverpool, have been completely taken out of that process. We're not going to take it lying down, and that is the feeling right now. Like I'm opening my phone, I'm seeing, and not even in Liverpool, like people from all over the UK are messaging me, and they're like, "What do you want us to do?" And I'm like, "Let's see how Labour respond to this, because I know how people are going to respond to this, but let's see how Labour respond to this, because what is a political party if they are not listening to the people?" And how do you think we're going to respond to anyone you shoehorn in now after you've just moved 3 amazing female candidates out of the way? Because this is not about what Keir Starmer wants Liverpool to look like. You can never tell us what Liverpool will look like. We say who we are. We say how we define ourselves, and we want a socialist leader because we are a socialist city. And one of the proudest moments for me was when Jeremy Corbyn endorsed Anna, because Anna is everything that made me love Jeremy. Anna's the reason why I was like, I'll do phone banking, the same reason why I was in Southport kind of campaigning for Jeremy. And that's why I came back to the party for Anna. And it's like, no, I'm not going to give up without a fight. I'm not going to kind of say, oh, Labour's done for, because Labour's done for if we all just kind of throw out. And I've had this conversation with Alan as well. It's just this constant debate of, do you stay and fight for what you love and what made you fall in love with the Labour Party, or do you just say, you know, he's won, they've won, the ones who want to take it back to New Labour, the ones who want to stand behind blinking flags at a time when the nation is divided over race, the ones who want to drag Diane Abbott for speaking at an anti-racism rally, but turn the other cheek when Matt Hancock is blinking committing frauds and all kinds. No, we have to, at some point we have to fight. And I do feel like everywhere, like anywhere I'm looking, this feels like you have picked a fight with the wrong city, because there is fire in the heart of everybody in this city, and you do not tell us that we cannot have a candidate who was for workers, who was for everything we're about, and who is front and centre at every protest, every rally, and will listen to everyone who is here and in the city. So no, I'm not, she shouldn't have to stand as an independent candidate. They have to reinstate her. They have to listen to the people.
Mogamat, you were waving your hand a little bit earlier and I didn't get to you.
There might seem to be a very short time to alternative candidates being, but this is not the 3 excellent women candidates. This is not their crisis at all. They are members of their unions. If I were in these unions in Liverpool, I would call my fellow trade union leaders in Liverpool and say, tonight, we are going to have a party. We're going to sing the Beatles, Revolution, and we're going to ask all the DJs, all the radio stations in Liverpool to play You'll Never Walk Alone on a loop until, when the Catholic Church chooses a pope, white smoke comes out. Until white smoke comes out, the trade union doesn't leave the meeting. And when the trade unions have decided, those bureaucrats in Liverpool and the region who came up with this atrocious decision, they will run for their political lives, because the Liverpool trade unions would have told them, these are our members. To be a socialist means at least one thing: to be in control of your life at work and in your everyday life in your community. They are taking it away from the people of Liverpool. This is an anti-socialist position. So there isn't a problem. There is no need for her to resign and run as an independent, because the level of poverty in Liverpool is so deep. It requires a Labour Party candidate to lead the local government, because much of government is devolved authority. She and the 3 women have earned the right over 50 years to stand as the candidates on the shortlist, and for the people of Liverpool to choose. Those trade unions tonight, the leaderships there, they should get into a meeting, have enough coffee. They might not be able to smoke in the same room anymore, but they can have coffee and they can make a decision, and they can tell the Labour Party leadership, you are on notice. Those women are going to be reinstated, and at the same time, our sister Anna is saying she is looking at her options, and that in itself applies pressure. No, there is no need for her to run as an independent candidate. There is no crisis. There is enough time. The people, what should be done by the candidates is get a good supply of Imodium for the Labour Party leadership, because they are having the runs on this issue. The crisis is with them. Just calmly plan the way ahead. In the next 12 hours, the storm in the Labour Party bureaucracy teacup can be over. And it might be those people who take these decisions might be gone.
I've got to say,
I think it's,
Steve, I've got to say, on the point about calmness, Anna is definitely the calm one. Today, I spoke to her earlier today. She's so calm. Do you know what? Yeah, you got to have respect for that. When all of this is going on, a storm in a teacup, as you say, and Anna's there, she's like, it's okay. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I'll speak to you when I'm ready. And we're going to do that. And that's definitely where she's at, man. Respect, Mogamat. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve.
As a adopted local, I think it's I do think it's a dangerous moment for the party, because there's one thing the people in the city are not good at, it's letting themselves be taken for granted. And, it very much feels like the party's just assuming, like that famous Peter Mandelson thing about, the working class, where are they going to go? And, I suspect people think in Liverpool, where are they going to go? What else are they going to do but vote Labour? But, they were saying that in Scotland not too long ago. They were saying that in a bunch of towns across the middle of the country and into the north not too long ago, and look what happened. If people feel insulted enough and they feel as though they're taken for granted enough, then there does come a point where you push them too far. And I join with all you. I hope she doesn't have to stand, doesn't even have to think about standing as an independent, and I have no indication that she is. However, if the party decides to parachute some outsider in, as a lot of people expect, and she did stand as an outsider, I would suspect that, the Labour Party would be getting a bit of a kicking at the polls. Other moments of danger for the party, I mean, we've seen some crazy legal decisions being taken by the new leadership over the past year or so. The decision to award money, a huge amount of money to whistleblowers, as they were styled by the media, to settle a case that the lawyers expected to win. We've seen the party decide to fling money at the courts to try to prevent Jeremy Corbyn from being reinstated after they wrongly we removed the whip from him in Parliament and did the exact thing that the EHRC report had said that they shouldn't do, which was interfere in the disciplinary process. And now we've got Anna going to court if she needs to over this move against her and the other two women. So, I think the reputational damage that the party's doing to all three of these candidates is beyond question, because all three of them have been councillors for years. Two have been deputy mayors. One's the Lord Mayor at the moment. The party's got no excuse. If it hasn't vetted them yet and realised of any reasons why it thinks they shouldn't be candidates, what the hell has it been doing for the past 15 years or so? So I don't think they've got a leg to stand up if she decides to go to court. Alan, you wave your hand. You come in first, man.
Yeah. I think it's got to be said that there's a motion floating around for a recall conference, and I think today's events will make that motion reach a lot more CLP officers' desks, because I think people do feel there's a crisis in the party, a crisis of direction, and I think members want to discuss this. It's been a terrible time with having to do Zoom calls, not meeting, not having that feel of solidarity, and people are desperate to debate the direction of the party, because I think at the moment we don't feel as if we're moving in the right direction. And today's is an incredibly depressing day for Labour Party members. Really, we need to see a turn. So I think people should look at their local recall conference meetings and should really seriously look at that motion. And the trade unions, I think, will be thinking, you know, we have supported these people, and it's all the trade unions. I think this motion can have united the unions, you know, because Unison are back in Wendy, the firefighters and GMB back in Anne, and the bakers and Unite back in Anna.
Yeah. Well, we're getting near to the end of our hour now. Let's say we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to hand over. Andrea, you've been sitting there very quietly and patiently for a little while. I'm going to let you get a word in before the close, and then I think we'll close out with Chantel as our newest member and the native scouser in the group, who can have the last word of the show before we finish. Andrea, over to you.
Yeah, so I just feel that, you know, at the end of the day, it's just showing again where a black member's been impacted by a shoddy decision by the party, to be honest. And it's unfortunate that this has affected Anna. She was absolutely brilliant, man. I can't stress how positive her campaign was going. Like I said, all of the endorsements that she had received, do you know what I mean? It was a really, really positive campaign. And, you know, Londoners were even getting involved. It was getting shared across all of the WhatsApp groups that I was in. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, people were spreading the word about it and sharing her stuff all over social media as well, and getting involved in her campaign. You know, it was, like I said, it was only this morning that she had literally just, you know, shared what she was up to. And yeah, for this to happen, it's just unfortunate. And the Labour Black Socialists are backing her, because at the end of the day, she was trying to bring a socialist movement to Liverpool and continue on with the fantastic work that she had been doing out there. Like, you know, she was getting endorsements from like local organisations, from local people that weren't necessarily members of the party as well. Like, you know, there was just different people that were getting involved in her campaign from all walks of life. And, you know, it's just absolutely disgraceful that it's ended like this. My heart goes out to all three of the candidates, to be honest, because, you know, all of them have been dealt a low blow here without knowing what's going on and without knowing what direction they should go. I think it's fantastic that Anna is going to fight for it. I don't think that she should leave. At the end of the day, I don't also see Liverpool turning against Labour either. But I just feel that, you know, the party bureaucracy needs to sort itself out. Otherwise, it's going to continue to lose fantastic socialists. You know, we're seeing socialists leave the party every minute at the moment, and it's just unfortunate. And this is just the wrong way to be going. And, you know, as has it's been said in the meeting as well, like, who are they actually going to get in? That's going to be supported by all of Liverpool, not just a selected few. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, this is what they need to take into account. Liverpool's also always been socialist as well. So, like, it's just going to be a bit mad, like, how they're going to get these people in, get all the support, and start campaigning again. It just doesn't make sense. And it's I feel that all three of these candidates should actually fight for it. And we'll see what happens here, to be honest. It's just, you know, up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on. And, you know, it's impacting Liverpool. It's not impacting the rest of us, to be honest. Like, we can just support from the sidelines. But at the end of the day, it's Liverpool as a city that's impacted by this. And it's just disgraceful that it's ended like this, especially by somebody that's been well supported and was having such a positive campaign. You just, like I said, you just had to look at those endorsements, man.
Very good. And Chantel, last word on the show before I close it out.
Yeah, just to obviously to be in Labour, to support Labour is kind of to know pain and disappointment. I've never voted in an election that we've won, but this is just different. This is different. This is kind of unjust and it's unfair. And I know a lot of people will be thinking I give up, but you know, I've rejoined and I just think stay and fight, because No, we can't lose Liverpool. We're not going to. We define who the party are. The people have the power to say the way this is going to go. And the more of us standing up, the more of us standing with Anna, the more of us saying, no, we see what is happening and this is not our Labour. Because it is our Labour, it is our party, and we cannot let Starmer tell us who we are. Scousers are socialists. Scousers kick the sun out. We're the only city that has ever done it. And we can do this as well. And I just feel like the way I'm feeling, the way I'm looking at my phone, it feels like the whole of the UK is watching Liverpool now to see if Starmer has met his match. And I think he has. This is the glass ceiling in action. We have 3 capable women. We have 3 amazing women who are good at what they do and who are qualified. And then when they go for promotion, all of a sudden, they hit this ceiling that they have no power over. They can't get any higher. And we're going to lift them up. As a city, we're going to lift them up and we're going to smash that ceiling because no, they picked the wrong city.
Brilliant. Everybody who's been watching, thank you very much for your time. Everybody who's joined us tonight at short notice, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll point out one practical thing you can do. There's quite a number of Labour MPs who have expressed their solidarity with the candidates and with Anna in particular. If your MP hasn't, and I'll be publishing details on that probably in the morning as to who has so far, but if your MP is not among them, get writing and calling your MP and tell them they better damn well get their name up there in solidarity with the candidates who are being treated like this. Because, you know, you're going to be the guys who are decided whether they continue to be your MPs in the future, and who are going to be, you know, they'll be relying on to campaign and get them elected again. Thanks a lot, everybody. It's been a big day, and it was good to get a chance to have everybody on to talk about that. Take care of yourselves and stay safe, and don't forget to tune in for the regular Socialist Telly programming. Thanks a lot, everybody.